1924, we have an internal fascist army that is posing a threat every minute. They've been at war with us for about 50 years, and we are just waking up to that now. After they've taken over the Supreme Court, ended abortion rights, and want to get their fangs into every other thing. They're in a minority, but minorities can win if the rest of us are passive. If the rest of us go to sleep. Cartoonists should be in the front lines, and we should be fighting not only the fascists, but editors and publishers who believe in both sidisms, people who want to moderate opinions that are important to express, and to tell people, go fuck yourself. Absolutely necessary. We're very polite, you know. Very polite, such very polite people, and we don't say that. It's time to do this. And my work doesn't do it enough, but I'm working on it.
There are so many women drawing comics and graphic novels especially. That's where women find, their place, because they don't have to do superheroes. They don't have to do the fist. I always do this when I talk about the superhero comics, that Jack Kirby fist. But they don't have to do that in graphic novels, and they have a million different styles, and they're wonderful. I never dreamed really that this would happen. It's incredible.
And you see yourself as somebody who opened that door?
I was one of the women that opened the door.
Who else?
I think it was women's comics that opened the door. Suddenly there was a comic, an ongoing anthology comic that was all women. And women went, and we asked for submissions, and women read the book and went, yeah, and sent us submissions. Once a month we would meet, and we would just sit on the floor with pages and pages of comics. In those days, Xeroxes, and we would choose what we liked and what we didn't like. And a lot of women made their start in women's comics.
And who have you mentored over the years?
I don't know who I've mentored. Last one I mentored, which was last year, was Emily Bowen Cohen, who has a new graphic novel. It's great. It's called Two Tribes, right? Yeah.
HarperCollins, I think it is.
HarperCollins, and it's great. And she also contributed to Won't Back Down.
Do you see, tell me what you think the state of cartooning in general is now.
It's wonderful. It's wonderful because it's so opened up. In comic books, as I say, there are still not enough women drawing editorial cartoons. But in comic books and in graphic novels, it's so opened up that people draw, men and women. They draw on every subject. It's very heavy. Graphic novels by women are very heavy on autobiographies. But still, there's lots of other stuff. And they're so good. Men and women who are not superhero artists.
What in your looks into the past, in your research, what have you found out that really surprised you, that you did not expect to learn from looking at cartoons in the past?
Well, I knew that women had drawn comics, but I had no idea how many. And I found hundreds of women. I've written my books about them, as you know. Hundreds of women. And it was no big deal. It wasn't, oh, look, she's a woman and she's drawing comics. It was okay for women to draw comics.
Mm-hmm. That was when, the 30s, 40s?
Oh, the early 20th century. Mm-hmm. I mean, 1900, the first comic that I found by a woman was by Rose O'Neill, and it was from a magazine in 1896. Mm-hmm. And it was a comic. It was a strip with 4 panels, and it's even funny. Cartoons in those days were weird. I mean, some of them, this he said and she said comics, and they're it's 1890s humor,
Do you think that, obviously the future seems to be in graphic memoir now? Like, who are some of the younger stars that you like?
Oh, wow. There are so many younger stars. I think of the classics, like Alison Bechdel, but they're not younger anymore.
I know the feeling.
I would just say go to a comic book store and check them out.
We have different viewpoints, like Sherry Pear did I guess sort of a graphic presentation about having miscarriages.
Yes. We talk about everything, sure.
Yeah.
And why not? In Wrote Back Down, the comic that I contributed, I wrote it, and it was drawn by someone else. It's about my second abortion. Damn it, I can talk about that. Yes.
If you have time and anyone's interested, there's a store in the Mission called Sour Cherry Comics.
Yes.
That's a women-forward, LGBTQ-friendly comics store.
Absolutely,
If you're
it's
interested in
great.
feminist comics of all types, superhero and non.
It's
Yeah,
great.
it's great stuff.
When this book comes out, we're going to be doing a signing there.
The woman who runs it is lovely.
Yes, she is.
Are you drawing now, or
No.
you're not?
Nope, just writing.
You're just writing. Yeah, Steve.
So, what was the thing that melted the iceberg in the very beginning, as far as you can remember? Because at one time, comics were just these, cigar-smoking guys,
Yes.
right? Mort Walker and Hal Fisher, and Hal Fisher propositioned a woman I met in her old age, and he said, Ham Fisher, sorry. He said, I draw Joe Palooka, and she didn't know who he was. He says, if you come out with me, I can introduce you to the president. He's talking about FDR, and he knew FDR. It was like this old boys club.
It was an old boys club.
Yeah. So what?
And in the 70s, it was still an old boys club.
So you had Mort Walker being Mort Walker until he changed.
Mm-hmm.
So what? Do you remember what started to melt
Oh, yeah.
that
Graphic
whole thing
novels.
down? Huh?
Graphic novels started it.
Yeah.
Because in the 70s and 80s, if you wanted to draw comics, there was the big two. There was Marvel and DC, and it was all superheroes. And women are not interested in men beating each other up. But graphic novels meant you could write anything, and you could draw anything, and you didn't have to have a house style.
What year would you say that was?
I call it 2000, 1999 and 2000. It's when Sailor Moon came to the United States.
Oh.
And yes, Sailor Moon,
Oh.
it opened it up. And Sailor Moon was followed by other manga, and you'd go into a bookstore and you'd see teenage girls sitting there surrounded by manga. And meanwhile, here in America, the guys at Marvel and DC were still saying, girls don't read comics, and they didn't because they didn't want to go into a store that had, a big cardboard cutout in the front window of a hot babe with giant breasts and spike-heeled boots and very little else. And the store itself was, full of guys. It was like a porn store. Guys reading comics. So of course they didn't go in, and there were no comics that they wanted anyway because it was all superheroes. But manga led the way to graphic novels, and women could do something really, really good that was not superheroes.